Hi guys and welcome to the Circus. So, here we have another card fight for you guys. This is gonna be versus the Circus episode 2 featuring Bermuda Triangle. So, we are gonna be facing against Yuusha-sama once again. I am piloting my Nightmare Dolls with Nightmare Doll Chelsea, and we are up against Seredy. So, this is gonna be another budget deck matchup, which is defined as, I believe it's triple rare below kind of deck. So, yeah. We're both using that genre, so let's see what happens here. So the playstyle of Mir is quite interesting in my perspective because it's a unique feature where it requires multiple copies of a unit on your board and powering them up, making more advantage of that, like for example drawing more cards, restanding, and filtering your hand and your deck and something like that. And it has a lot of plus. I played against it a couple times and it's actually really good. Once you get your pieces rolling, it's gonna be one good engine to work with, to play around with. And yeah, so yeah, of course, in the early game, there's not much going on. So we're just, I believe we're just talking about something here. And yeah. So about the playstyle and about this matchup though, this is kind of a matchup where you can probably see yourself playing against a restanding deck as well. There are a lot of restanding decks out there, like Mordred with Blaster Dart, no CL. So they're all restanding decks, especially restanding their rear guards specifically. And with that kind of playstyle, playing against Seredy will, get you a little bit of idea on what to do when you face that kind of playstyle in other decks. So yeah, we rode grade 1. I rode a Tosca. Yuusha-sama rode into his grade 3 Searcher. Fetches himself a quick shield because he went second, and checks top 5 for a potential grade 3. Will he get one? Will he not get one? So sadly, he didn't get a single grade 3. I believe in Mir there are 2 units that are crucial, which are the grade 2 and grade 3. But they both have almost the same skill where they can restand by if you have at least 2 copies of the same card in your hand. And what makes them big is Seredy, which is whenever your rear guard attacks, you can reveal any number of cards with the same name as that attacking unit, and they get plus 10 for each copy. So, and it stacks even. So once they, like for example, if they have a restanding skill, they still get plus 10 as long as you have those grade 2s in hand. No. Same copies in hand if you can manage to get them back by discarding them at least, because the restand skill requires discarding cards. Yeah, so we just check and see what happens here. So we check a defensive, which is a draw trigger, which is really nice because we get to plus a little early game. So we rode on to Marissa, put an Edith from our hand to the soul, which is really nice. Check top 7, fetch yourself a non-grade 2 Workeroid and put it in our hand. So 2 copies, 2 cards, 1 Beverly and 1 more Abigail. So this is the part where, yeah, I remember this game a lot. So this is remember that. Please remember that Abigail that I fetched, and let's just see what happens here. So please remember that Abigail, and you can flame me in the comments after this. So yeah, okay. So we checked nothing. We healed a damage. That's actually quite bad because we needed 2 damage at the start of our grade 3. But if we have Chelsea, we already have a way to make use of that 1 CB play, which is really nice, because before 1 CB is not enough to do something unless have 2 copies of Carroll and 1 copy of Amaranth Beast Tamer in hand. So he did hit us with 1 damage. He gave us 1 damage, and he has the grade 1 that retires herself after the attack on hit and then fetches the same copy from the deck to hand, which is gonna be more shield when it is placed on Guardian Circle just by returning one copy of her from the drop zone to hand, from the drop zone to the deck. So we proceed now to performing our first grade 3 turn. So we went first, so we went grade 3 first. So right here we have a Carroll in hand, I believe, as I remember this, and we also have a Chelsea. So at this situation, in this kind of situation, you want to ride Chelsea first because you don't only have one CB. And yeah, that's what I exactly did here. So I rode Chelsea, got myself an Axel 2 because Axel 2 is amazing. So draw 1 and then proceed now to calling some units. I call another Marissa. Opening up with a lot of Marissas are godly. That is really good sign that you can filter out your deck as much as possible. Fetch your needed units, especially your grade 3s and grade 1s. Right here I fetch another Abigail, so I have 2 Abigails now, guys. Remember that is you can flame me in the comments when you see my misplays here, and you know, we live and we learn. It's actually good to pinpoint my mistakes here because I want you guys to remember that when you get to play yourselves, when you get to play with Carroll and Chelsea yourself. So I called an Edith, give it +6 since we have 3 workers on board. That won't hit if he checks the defensive. I check a draw trigger, I give the power to Marissa, and then second check we get nothing. We got a Carroll, I believe. So yeah, we just gave the power there, and then after the attack, I can call 2 cards from my soul. I called an Abigail. I did call an Abigail, right? So yeah, I called an Abigail, and I got myself another Marissa because Marissa is just a vanilla card in board and in soul. So he got power. He got a defensive, which is a draw trigger, which is the best defensive, and one of the best defensives, arguably. So he, my Edith can't hit anymore, but my Marissa still can hit. So I retired my Abigail at the end of the turn. CC1. I can't fetch any grade 3, so that's fine. I just needed a CC because you know CC is amazing in Nightmare Dolls. So he finally rides on to Seredy. So he calls the grade 3 that I spoke of earlier. He uses that skill of Seredy to CB1 and then pick a unit on his board to get the same copy from the deck to his hand. That is really good. That's a really good plus as long as you have a unit on board. So yeah, and he actually fetched the card. I mean, he actually has the unit that is crucial. That's a crucial piece in his board and his game plan, which is gonna be pretty spicy. With this board, you can see that he has only 2 units, but he can actually pull off 3 attacks, and 2 attacks have force 2. So it's both quite big, and don't forget they're big. They're gonna be really big. You can see. You'll see in a couple of seconds if you haven't played against Seredy yet. So yeah, let's see. Well, we are now going to see what's the decision of Yuusha-sama. Will he go to battle phase now or commit more hand cards first before going to battle phase? So our current state is quite fine. I went first, so he has more damage than me. So yeah, I took his Vanguard because you know he doesn't have a crit. I need to guard this because it has 2 damage. I only need 2 damage at this point for now. So yeah, I wanna reduce the damage that I get this turn, so I need to guard his restanding one. So right here, as you saw there, he swinged. He used the skill of his Seredy to reveal 2 copies of the same grade 3 on his board, giving it plus 20k that instantly. And using that skill of that same grade 3, the skill of that is that when she attacks, he can discard two of the same cards, and it can restand instantly. You see? And it stacks once again, so he gets plus 10 again once you have it, because he still has the same copy in his hand. I intercepted twice and gave another 25k shield to go for to protect myself because I don't need that much damage. And we proceed now to our second grade 3 turn. We now ride on the Carroll because we have 2 CBs available, and check top 5. And what will it be? I will superior call a copy of Alice, my one-off Alice in the list, and it's actually not bad of a decision. I believe I have enough units in my soul to work with Chelsea. Yeah, So let's see. I moved back my Edith, and I hope I will call a Chelsea over there to reset it using Jill, because you know Jill is really good there. I called another copy of Carroll. Okay, so I called another copy of Carroll. I called an Amaranth Beast Tamer. Okay, so I don't have a Chelsea, I believe, so I used that skill of Marissa. Check top 7. I fetch a Jill for my hand to soul, which is really nice to secure the skill of Jill that easily. So I fetch myself a copy of Chelsea finally, and a copy of Tosca on top of that, and that's probably more shield power or just discard fodders, you know. Let's see what happens. So current state of the board. We're on an upper advantage right here because, you know, we swing a lot. So thankfully he's at 3 damage. I won't heal because if I healed I would have cried. So I needed those 2 damage. So I gave the power to Marissa, which is a misplay. That's the first misplay I want to point out, because you don't want to give that power there. Even though it's a risk, you can take the risk if you want to, but I believe it's better to just give it to Alice or the other Amaranth Beast Tamer, because it still hits over a defensive trigger at least. And if your opponent checks a defensive trigger, Marissa can't hit anymore because it's only at 19, which is a bad number. A really bad number against Force. So yeah, don't do that. That was a misplay of mine. I should have called another Abigail from my hand. I hesitated there, and this is why there was a misplay. So I swinged with my rear guard Carroll, and I swinged with Amaranth Beast Tamer, moving that copy of Carroll to the soul and rewriting my Vanguard. So since I have a Chelsea in soul, I will decide to rewrite Chelsea to perform 2 more attacks, because he's at grade 3. Those units will be getting plus 10. So as you can see, Yuusha-sama got a defensive, so my Marissa's powered up from the trigger is now waste. It's purely a waste now. So that's why that I said it was a misplay. So don't do that, guys. Don't do that. I learned from my lesson in the hard way. So I drive check once. My Vanguard still hit because it's 24. Thanks to Beverly. Love you, Beverly. So I finally called 2 cards from my soul. I call a Jill and reset that Tosca, and then Superior call a Carroll. I called a Carroll because it's gonna be a 27k beater. My Alice won't hit because it's only a 17. I didn't check a single front, sadly, but it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, let's see. If we see this current state of the board, I can only hit for 2 more attacks. Yeah. It only has 2 more attacks left that I can hit, and 2 attacks that can't hit anymore because I made the wrong decision and giving the power to my Marissa. So he's at 5 damage, so he needs to guard everything else, or otherwise he will lose. So he has a ton of hand cards, so it's still fine. He can still do something. So I swing for 27. He can easily guard it for a 5k shield using his quick shield in his hand, and swinging that's, I believe that's a huge girl. He guarded it for 40k. That's enough. No, that's 20k. So it's 20k shield. It has heal trigger, and it's enough to guard it basically. So yeah, I passed my turn, and I could have burned more hand cards if I just gave the power to Alice. Yeah, that was a misplay of mine. So restanding again, drawing a card, and re-riding onto Seredy, getting another Force too, which is gonna be really good. So he checked a lot, calls a grade 3 searcher at the back of the grade 3, which is gonna be thick. It is gonna be thick, guys. Watch and learn. So let Yuusha-sama show you the ways of Bermuda Triangle in this turn. Yeah. So my board state is quite fine. I'm in a huge advantage because he is at 5 damage already. I'm still sitting at 2 damage, so I can probably take some attacks here. He has probably like 5 attacks in total, or 4, because he can restand the other grade 3 at the side. So yeah, let's see what happens right here. So he fetched himself. He has now 2 copies in his hand of those grade 3, so yeah, he's gonna get big. It's a big girl right there with Force 2 on top of that. So let's see what will happen. So he used that skill of his Vanguard to copy Lizelot, maybe just to filter, because he already has the copies he need for his grade 3, so he maybe just wanted more, shield power, because it's a free plus, so why not? Nothing can go wrong with free pluses. So yeah, I have a pretty decent hand. It's not that bad. It's still it's still shield value. I searched a lot of grade 1s earlier, so you can still do something right here. And we can take like 2 attacks with even with force 2. And let's see. So I will think of like if I were to take the force 2 units or just take the Vanguard, maybe he will check a crit here or something, but who knows. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Okay, so I didn't guard, so he checked nothing. I take 1 damage. I got a, what did I get? I got a front trigger. So I got a front trigger on top of that, so it's really nice. A defensive is always nice. So he used that skill of his Vanguard when attacking Lisalot and gave plus 10 to Lisalot, swinging for, I believe that's 28 2 crits. Yeah, I believe it's 28 2 crits. So it is a really amazing skill. It just easily gets power as long as you have cards in your hand with the same unit as your units on board. So it's 27, it's gonna be 32, so it's successfully guarded. Now he swings for his big girl, reveals 1, 2, but 3, all 3 copies in his hand, giving plus 30k to his unit. And on top of that, a force 2 without the boost. And then since he is attacking, that unit is attacking, he needs to discard 2 copies of that to restand it and draw 2 cards from his deck. So I need to guard. I need to guard that hard guarded. As long as I had cards in hand, I can still defend this. So he still has 1 last attack with a big number and still revealed 1 more copy because it counts as an attack with which procs your Vanguard skill. So I was tempted to take this, and I believe I took it because I don't have that much damage and I need the damage to work for next turn. Thankfully he didn't check a crit there. If it checked a crit, I would have guarded everything here and just took Lisalot, but you know, all's well and ends well. No, I checked 2 copies of Chelsea from the top cards. That was unfortunate. That means 2 less. I only have like 1 Chelsea left to work with, but you know, maybe it's enough. Maybe say hi to the cat. A little cameo right there. So I ride Carroll once again, draw a card, check top 5, and fetch myself a copy of another Carroll from the top 5 cards. I decided to take that card instead of just putting a card to soul. Maybe I already have the units that I need to push here, and he is at 5 damage, so he needs to guard everything, every single attack that I perform in this turn. So let's see what happens right here. So looking at my board state, I filled up every single axle circle that I have and will produce 2 more. I believe 1 more or 2 more next in this battle phase. I called my last copy of Chelsea from my hand behind my my Edith so that I can reset it with Jill, and then call the Jill from my hand and in front of an Abigail. So we have a counter charger at the end of the turn. But the point here is that it doesn't really matter. They're all vanillas during battle phase. The point here is that we need to have attackers that are really good. So check top 5 using Tosca, and I fetch myself a copy of Rhoda, which is really nice to the Edith and Rhodas are your main finishers after you attack with Chelsea, and then you call them, they became big girls, really big girls. So we swing for 17, 2 drives, and he needs to guard this obviously. So it is gonna be a 2 pass. So first check, a front trigger that scoops what will be scooped by 6 units. Man, that looks so satisfying. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Look at that front trigger proc. We have 6 units. That's 6 units that scooped our front trigger, which is amazing. It's so satisfying. We swing for 30k this time, and let's see. He still has a pretty decent hand, I believe. So I believe you can still hold on to this for a while or something like that. For a while. So I use that skill to scoop in his Lisalot, so he doesn't have that much shield value. And I used that skill of my Vanguard to re-ride Carroll. Why did I ride Carroll? Because I still have an Amaranth Beast Tamer and 2 copies of Carroll on board, which means I can still re-ride. I still have 2 CBs, which means if I ride onto Chelsea, I can still use Chelsea's skill once I ride. So in this case, I can re-ride twice with 2 more attacks after the final ride. So I don't know how to count right now, but I believe he just this is kind of a bad situation for him. I ran out of space for Graxel too, so I just put it on the top corner. So yeah, I even checked the heal on top of that, gave that, and then right here check for the 6 damage heal, and sadly he didn't get to guard anything else anymore. And yeah, I got the game, but it was really solid. As you can see, I can still perform a bunch more attacks, but he just took the damage, and yeah, that was one good game.